common time, cut time, 4/4, 2/2, 2/4. Is there any difference between any of this crap, or is it all the same? Let's find out. Hey guys, this is Piano Man Steve Lungrin, creator of the Piano Man Approach online piano course. Thanks for joining me, and today we're going to take a look at some of these time signatures that seem to be mathematically pretty much the same thing and find out, is there really any difference? And if there is, does it matter in any meaningful, practical way to you as a piano player? So before we get started, I would just invite you, if you enjoy videos like this, to please give it a like and subscribe to my channel where you can get notifications for all the new content that I put out, both as a teacher and as an entertainer. So let's carry on here. Today, we're specifically going to talk about something I've heard a lot from a lot of different people. What on earth is the difference between common time and cut time? Or even more broadly, 4/4, which is common time, 2/2, which is cut time, and even 2/4. Like, what's the difference between these things, and does it matter? So I'm going to say something a little controversial. Second, got to make sure nobody else is listening in. It's just between you and me, okay? You and me. It doesn't make any difference at all. Okay, I'm going to qualify that. But just so you know, I am well aware that I am now going to have the music theory police leaving comments underneath this video, and I welcome it. That's fine. I love that there are so many people out there who don't actually make YouTube videos, but who are seemingly experts about topics and like to watch videos about the stuff that they already know everything about and leave comments to tell the content creators what they got wrong. No problem. Okay, so yes, there is a difference. No, it doesn't have to make a meaningful difference to you depending on the method of play that you use. At the Piano Man Approach, for example, we don't read notes on the staff. The whole system is based on chords, rhythm patterns, and improv techniques, and so you're pretty much just feeling the song from the word go, and so it doesn't really matter. So let me give you a quick demonstration here of why it doesn't matter if you're not reading notes on the staff. So let's take a song. I'm going to use this song by Hank Williams called Hey Good Lookin', because it's a really good example of something that could be actually written in 3 different time signatures, and it would make pretty much no functional difference whatsoever to how it was played. Okay, so we're thinking like this. Hey, you good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me? Right? So if we listen to that, what we've got going here is a number of different options if you were going to count it out. It could be like this. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, meaning that each one of these things that I'm playing here with either hand is a quarter note. Now, it's unlikely that if they were going to write it on a staff that they would do it that way. Why is that? By doing it that way, it would require an awful lot of measures, a lot of bars, if you will. So it's going to make the notation pretty fat and bloated a little bit. But you could do that. You could write it out as quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3. Finally, we change to another chord. 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 2, 3, 4. Now, what are the other options? Well, we could also keep it in 4/4 time, and we could think of it with each of those being an eighth note instead of a quarter note and count it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So instead of it being 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it'd be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2, 3, 4. So that whole phrase, instead of being 8 bars long, would be 4 bars long, and you'd still keep it in 4/4 time. Here's another option. You could change the whole thing to 2/4. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Mathematically, it works out fine. However, again, if you have a lot of bars of music, if you're notating it out in 4/4 time that way, you're really going to have a lot going on if you do it in 2/4. It's like, so you'd take the 8 bars and turn it into 16 bars, but it wouldn't really change the song functionally to write it that way. 1 2 1 2. You could do the same thing. You could make it eighth notes and be 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, and that'd be 1 and 2 and 3 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Okay, so mathematically, same stuff. No difference whatsoever. But the likelihood is that in the name of not having like a gazillion measures, they're either going to favor putting it in 4/4 and counting it out in eighth notes, or you can also think of it as cut time. So remember what a time signature is here, guys. It's a fraction, okay? So it's saying 4/4 or 2/4 or 2 halves, right? 2 seconds, that's 2 halves. What's a fourth? A quarter. So it means 4 quarter notes in a measure, 2 quarter notes in a measure, 2 half notes in a measure. So that means 2 beats in a measure, and the unit of measurement is the half note. So you could write it differently and be counting it like this: 1 2 1 2. And the way that it would come off is it would read as quarter notes: 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Except since it's written in 2/2 time, right? Then that would mean you're counting it in 2 beats per measure: 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4. So essentially, all putting it in cut time does, as a function of how it reads on the page, is that it is now going to make a quarter note functionally the way you would play an eighth note in 4/4 time. Quarter note becomes an eighth note, half note becomes a quarter note, etc. That's what ends up happening. Again, mathematically, it doesn't matter. This is something that basically, if you're not reading notes on the staff, you basically never have to give this any thought whatsoever. This is something that composers are going to give thought to, because they're going to think about what is the smart way to notate this out so that it's readable and so that we can fit it all on one page for each person who's reading it, or as few pages as possible, that kind of thing. Those are considerations that a composer is going to take, into consideration for an ensemble of people who are going to be reading it off the page. I make charts up for friends that I play with sometimes on a little app, and I don't write notes into the measures. I just put slash marks, and we put chords over the top just so we know where the chord changes are. They don't give a damn whether I put it in 2/4 or 4/4 or 2/2. All they want to know is, they're going to adjust how they're counting that song out to whatever the time signature is, and they just want to know when the chord changes. And that's the whole point of having the chart, okay? But so if you're not reading notes on the staff, it's not particularly important. It just really isn't. Now, there are people who are going to make the very wise point that theoretically there's a natural cadence to songs in 2 versus songs in 4. And it's something like this. When you are counting something with 2 beats in the measure, there's a dominant beat on the first count and a passive beat on the second count. So it's like strong, weak, 1 2 1 2. And in 4, the idea is that the natural cadence is strong, weak, strong, but not as strong as the first one, and then weak, even weaker than the second one. So it's like da 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 da. There might be something to that. Personally, it's not something that I encounter and actually notice very much in particularly popular music, which is what I specialize in. Rock, pop, country, that kind of stuff. If it's there, it's extremely subtle. But you have to remember that in popular music, a lot of times it's the backbeat that you're paying more attention to. Chuck, chuck, chuck. So like the 2 and the 4, which completely confounds this whole thing about the natural cadence being strong beat on number 1, and then a less strong but still kind of dominant beat on beat 3, and then weak beats on 2 and 4. Kind of gets thrown off when you're playing rock and roll, and what you've got essentially is hearing a snare drum go ka, ka, ka on 2 and 4. So I think that is a valid theoretical argument that goes back a long time and is true in a lot of forms of music, but it kind of falls on its face when you're dealing with popular music. So the moral of the story is it doesn't matter at all. Whatever helps you, if you are learning a song through a method like what I teach, where you're not going to be reading it on a staff, and what you're basically doing is you've got a set of lyrics and you've got chords, and you are kind of listening to the song and using a rhythm pattern to approximate it. Count it however it is easiest for you to understand the song. If that means 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, fine. If that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, fine. And if you then decide to spread those 4 beats out over twice the amount of space, so instead of being 1, 2, 3, 4, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, that's also fine. It could also be that slow, but you're doing it in 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't matter. Whatever helps you find the beat of the song and follow it through to the end, that is okay. Mathematically, it makes absolutely no difference. It only matters when you're reading notation on a staff. And then it only matters because you obviously need to know how to count the notes that are written on the staff. But that's not my specialty. So I'm here to tell you that if you're interested in my kind of a method, that this is a nothing burger of a topic. Okay? So anyway, if you are intrigued by the idea of playing piano this way, I would invite you to visit pianomanapproach.com and learn a little bit about my course. It's a pretty cool and fast and I think much easier way to really make some progress and be able to play a lot of fun things on piano. Reading notes on a staff is a wonderful skill. I'm not here to trash it. I'm not here to trash sheet music or anything like that. It's just that there's a really, really long barrier of entry for people. It takes a much longer time to get competent at doing that than it does to get competent at playing from chord symbols and plugging them into a rhythm pattern. So anyway, I won't drone on about that because that's not really the purpose of the video, but I have all of my links down there in the description. So take a look at them. I would invite you to do it and subscribe to the channel because I put a lot of this kind of useful, helpful, silly content out on a regular basis. You don't want to miss any of it. Or maybe you do. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. All right, I'm going to get out of here for now. Remember, if you're not having fun when you're making music, you're doing it wrong. And I'll see you on the next video where maybe we'll talk about something that isn't a nothing burger.